This is the Cubs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Cubs Postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. Joe George, Postcast host, here with you for the next 20 minutes. I just watched Matt and Sam's postgame show that they wrapped up with, and I'm with them. The vibes are not good as the Cubs lose 7-3, and they're down 2-0, and their season is on the line come Wednesday. It was a bad game for a lot of different reasons. We'll go through all of it in this one. We'll take your questions and comments here in the chat. To me, the biggest takeaway from this game is just that the Brewers are the better baseball team. There's really no other way to sugarcoat it. They're outplaying the Cubs in pretty much every single way possible in this series. From the starting pitching to the relief pitching to specifically the lineup is doing things that the Cubs lineup is just not capable of. The only thing the Cubs can do right now is have one really exciting moment to start the game, like we saw with the Seiya Suzuki home run, and then strike out a bunch. And they had a lot of guys. The Cubs had guys on basically every single inning, 1 through 5. And then they didn't get anyone on forever. But the lineup has just been atrocious in this series so far. Frankly, in the playoffs, like the Cubs lineup is, I think what we're learning about this team, or what we're watching again about this team as the playoffs are unfolding for the Cubs, is just that the weaknesses, the flaws that we saw with the Cubs were truly who this team was. High strikeout percentage, the stealing bases that they had success with early in the season that went away. Like the highs of Seiya Suzuki and Pete Armstrong and Kyle Tucker, that's not realistic of who the Cubs ended up being this season. So this is just it's all bad. It's honest, there's not really anything good. I mean, to the way this game started, the 3-run home run from Suzuki, which came off a good swing from Nico Horner, the walk from Tucker, Suzuki hits the home run, it's 3-0, and the Shota comes out and he strikes out the first two guys, and he looks like he has real control over his fastball and everything he needed to start the game. And then all of a sudden the inning's over and it's 3-3. The pitching has been, as much as the problem is the lineup is, the pitching is also not good. And probably the decision-making that Craig Counsell's making with this. But outside of that 3-run home run from Seiya Suzuki, you really don't have a ton of opportunities to score again because the Cubs only have 4 hits in this game. You got a first and second opportunity. I believe it's in the next inning. And you do nothing with it. You don't have guys that are coming through in the playoffs when you need them. And we're seeing players in the Cubs lineup that have some pretty fatal flaws in their swings, specifically Pico Armstrong, Matt Shaw, the young guys on this roster, which aren't too surprising, to be honest. These teams are, the Brewers, of course, have scouted the Cubs well, but there are just big holes in these guys' swings. And then the players you need to come through, which I would add Pico Armstrong back onto that list, Kyle Tucker, PCA, you're not getting them, in these games contributing anything meaningful. I mean, outside of the Michael Busch home run and Seiya Suzuki, you can put that in that same crowd. And even Craig Counsell, the decision he made with this lineup today to start Justin Turner, it works out. He gets a single after a Matt Shaw walk. You got first and second in an inning. And, I mean, I was a little surprised when I saw it, but it worked out for him that Michael Busch comes through and I mean, Michael Busch comes into the game and they just do nothing. The lineup was just absolutely putrid. And we're not for, today as much going to have these conversations, probably more after the season ends, whether that's on Wednesday or Thursday or who knows at this point, but feels like Wednesday, the season will be over, about, the flaws that are in this lineup and how the Cubs have to address them. Because, asking this lineup to be anything different than it's been the last 2.5 months of the season, it's probably unrealistic from Cubs fans, including myself. We got a taste of the first half of the season, those final 5 games where they put up 5 runs, 4 or 5 days in a row, but then they just came crashing back down to earth and they can't get hits. I mean, they've barely scored in the postseason. Have they scored over? I don't think they've scored over 3 runs in a playoff game yet. They're not contributing in any way. And again, I'll bring it up here again, but the strikeout numbers are astronomical. I mean, these guys are swinging at everything. And I don't know if it's pressing. It's just the book has been written on this team of everyone's weaknesses. And, the other team is more prepared. I think they were. I mean, I even saw a clip from Marquee that they think that Shota was, might have been Palencia even was tipping pitches in this game. because it was Palencia was tipping pitches in this game. Which, like, if that's what's happening, it can't happen in the postseason. We've seen it happen before, but things like that are the reason why you lose games. And it does feel like through these first 2 games that the Brewers have had a tell, and not a tell in which they're doing anything against the rules, but just a tell in which they have found things in which Boyd and Shota are doing that they're able to take advantage of, and they're also just awesome. Like it's just the unfortunate reality. Like, no one likes the Brewers, but they're just playing great baseball right now. So yeah, it's not a lot of good. Let's get to hear what you'll be talking about after this game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
I think the biggest thing that we're all talking about here is we'll start with Craig Counsell and his decision-making process. That's the first thing. That before this game even begins, the decision to put Boyd on the mound in game 1, to put Shota on the mound in game 2, is the thought process behind that. You've got Boyd, who has been clearly slowing down, who looks fatigued, who has done more pitching this year than he's done in years, and you make the decision to pitch him on 3 days rest. It doesn't go well. And then Shota comes out there, who's given up a ton of home runs. The first in the wild card series, you go with an opener, and that works. And then you go away from that in this game, and he gives up a 3-run home run in the first inning. And it's not just should they have started Colin Ray, because that's a bigger conversation we're about to have for a brief minute. But if you went with the opener in one game against the Padres, why not take a similar approach in this one? There's something in that matchup that you liked, that you were that much more scared of against the Padres than it was the Brewers. And I know the names might be bigger and sexier with San Diego, and like there are guys like Fernando Tatis Jr. in that lineup that should scare you. But the Brewers are the best team in baseball right now with the way that they're playing. I mean, them and the Dodgers feel like they're on a collision course to get to the World Series this year. And frankly, in my opinion, whoever wins that series is going to win the World Series this year. So why go with an opener in a wild card round and not go with an opener in this one? It just doesn't make sense to me. And why go with Shota in this one and not Colin Ray? And look, we're asking for Colin Ray. Like, that's what the bigger picture part of this conversation is. We're asking for Colin Ray. It's Colin Ray. And while he's been good recently, you're asking for a guy who is a cast-off in Major League Baseball basically at this point, asking him to start game 2 of the National League Division Series because you're not confident in the things that are happening in front of you. So, yeah, I would not have made that decision personally. I'm not a manager, though, of a Major League Baseball team. I just host post-game shows. So I think it was a mistake to start Shota in this one. I would have started him at Wrigley Field, where maybe the conditions play into more of his favor. Not that it mattered. The Brewers were hitting bombs off of him. Those things were no doubters, the 2 home runs that were against him. But it's just, yeah, look, in the pitching and the frustration, now it goes with what we'll be talking about is the front office, not making a big deadline move, not adding to this team when you knew you were 1 injury away from being in this position, right? Like, you already didn't have Justin Steele. Then you lose Cade Horton. Well, by not going out and acquire anything of value at the deadline, and I get it, there's big price tags and all that stuff. You don't want to pay it, fine, whatever, 2032. We've heard it 100 times at this point. But you didn't add to your rotation, and it puts you in a point now where you've got a guy who's slowing down in Boyd and a guy who's giving up 100 million home runs this year in Shota Imanaga. Like that's the decision that you have to make. Is it go with those guys who in theory you should trust, or go with someone like Colin Ray who's been better of recent? We'll see. You also could have gone with Taillon. Taillon's going to pitch. The Cubs already announced he'll be the starter on Wednesday, which is finally the first decision that, well, frankly, I don't think it's a decision because I don't know what the other options would be, frankly, for Craig Counsell besides starting Jameson Taillon in game 3 of this series, where you're hoping that you're not going to go, that you're not going to be going home and your season's going to have at least one more day and try to get this thing to a 4-game series and maybe to a 5-game series. It's going to be on Jameson Taillon to get you there, which sounds crazy about where the Cubs rotation could be versus the reality of what it is. Since Matt and Sam went first today, I was looking on social media and I saw this from Marquee. This is what Craig Counsell said after the game when he met with the media. He said, quote, "The long ball at the rate he's giving them up right now with runners on base, that's going to be hard to overcome." That's when he's talking about Shota Imanaga today. Yeah, duh. Like but that's why that's where, like, it's not just about, the process to start Shota. It's the fact that this guy's giving up so many home runs this year. to me, this loss is not about one player. It's not about Shota Imanaga. It's not about your manager making the decision to put him on the mound. It's not about your general manager failing to make a big-time deadline. It's about all of it. It's about your lineup having another game in which they strike out 10-plus times. Your starting pitcher is not good. Your manager's making questionable decisions. You're giving up 2 3-run home runs in a playoff game coming from 2 different pitchers. Like it's all-encompassing bad right now for these two through these 2 games for the Cubs in the National League Division Series. And maybe we shouldn't be surprised, honestly, with the way the Brewers have been playing. But we'll take our break here. When we get back, we'll take your questions, your comments. We'll get to the turning point of today's game, and we'll just talk about what's next for the Cubs with potentially 1 game left to go in the 2025 Major League Baseball season. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401k properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. So if you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. It does all the heavy lifting, and you can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let the financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Visit monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONMLB in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
All right, really quickly here before we get to your questions and comments here live on the chat on YouTube, let's get to our turning point of today's game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Okay, so while it's not exactly fair to pin this game on Nico Hoerner, and I don't want it to make it seem like I'm doing that, but 3-3 game, top of the second inning, Matt Shaw walks Justin Turner, who, again, a good decision by Craig Counsell. Probably his only one of the series so far, gets a single, first and second with 2 outs. You've got an opportunity to do exactly what the Milwaukee Brewers just did. Have runners on first and second with 2 outs and create damage. Not asking Nico to hit a home run to make it a 6-3 ball game, but get one guy across, someone that you can rely on pretty much all the time. So again, I'm not pinning this game on Nico Hoerner, but you have the opportunity to swing the momentum back into your favor, and you can't do it. And Shota comes back out there in the bottom of the second. He gets a 1-2-3 inning. So that was that to me was the moment where the Cubs could have had a much better chance to win this game. Because then Mizorowski comes in, and this dude's throwing 104 miles an hour, has no control of the strike zone. But Contreras, I saw Sam tweet this, does a great job of kind of reeling him in, getting out of that inning. And then he just started to bully you at that point, and as did the rest of the Brewers bullpen. But that moment there, when you have runners at first and second in the second inning, not getting guys home in that situation, like while Shota obviously gives up a 3-run home run, that makes it a 3-3 game in the bottom of the first, like not getting guys home there, to me, that's really where it feels like the Cubs 100% lost this game. And they look like they look done. Like, I'm not a big body language guy. Like, I try not to read into it too much. But my gosh, like every time they put a camera on Craig Counsell's face, I know he's not like the happiest guy in the world, it looks like when he's in the dugout, but like he looks miserable. Every time he's doing that slow walk out to the mound, we've had to see so much of in the postseason. You can tell he just feels, it looks like a man that's been defeated, which they are being right now by his old team, the Brewers. But just the vibes are not good. Let's see, Larry asks here, do you think the Cubs will be swept? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they get 1 game at a minimum. But I think the Cubs get 1 game. I think they win game 3 of this series, and it probably ends when Peralta's back on the mound on Thursday. I think the Cubs get to 4 games, but if they get swept, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think anyone should be shocked with the way the first 2 games and frankly the playoffs have gone all year, because the only way for the Cubs to win right now is you need Jameson Taillon to give you 5 innings and have a 1-run lead, maybe a 2-run lead. And I know Palencia gave up the home run tonight, but you have to be able to hand the ball off to Palencia and Pomerantz and Kittredge and Keller. I mean, we haven't even seen Keller, basically, in a valuable role at this point. So, that's the only way for the Cubs to win, because asking them to go out there and score 8 runs is not happening. So that to me is the only way that they avoid being swept. Jeffrey says, been saying all season that Craig is a mole. I don't think Brewers fans miss him. It's outside when it's terms of Brewers fans being in the comments on my show or Matt and Sam's show, biggest thing is we don't miss you, Craig. So maybe he is a mole, but I don't think they miss him at all. Progressively Independent says, this is why I was hoping they didn't make the playoffs. Epic failure. I can't agree with that. I'm going to push back against that right away. Okay. The Cubs made the playoffs for the first time in years. And I'm not trying to be good job, participation trophy. I think that's garbage. They won a playoff series though. I think that does matter. And now what is the front office going to do with that momentum heading into the next season? I don't know. I hope this series is a wake-up call, though, for the ownership group, for the front office, even if somehow they pulled off a miracle. And it would be a miracle, because for the Cubs to win this series, they would have to be the 11th team in Major League Baseball history to win a 5-game series after being down 0-2. It's only happened 10 times. So it's not like the odds are in your favor that this is something that happens frequently. The last time that this happened was in 2017. The Yankees did it. So it's big aspirations to think that the Cubs have a chance to win this thing. I don't think anyone feels that way right now. Even if the Cubs win tomorrow or on Wednesday, I won't be letting myself feel that way. Even if they won on Thursday and it's 2-2 and it's headed back to Milwaukee, I won't be letting myself feel that way. But it's a tall task to it looks like for the Cubs to even win 1 game at this point. But again, I hope this is not one where this front office group and this ownership groups, while this season is a success regardless of what happens in the next 2 games, I really hope that the way this series is playing out leaves the sour taste in their mouth that all of us feel right now, that they were going to go out and spend money, maybe not even wisely, but be aggressive on the trade market, go fix your issues that are so clearly there, make a big splash this offseason, probably let Kyle Tucker play from someone else. And I'm a big Kyle Tucker fan, but he's not been good for a majority of his Cubs tenure. He hasn't been coming through here. And frankly, the rate that this guy hits foul balls off his leg, I don't know, man. When he hit the one off his knee again today, I thought he was going to be done for the game, because I don't know if it's his swing or what happens, but he seems to hit harder foul balls off his legs than anyone else in baseball. But that's my only hope at this point, is that, when I spend way too much money to fly back to Chicago for the Cubs convention this year, I'm going to go for the first time since before they won the World Series this year, I've decided, me and my dad. And I'm hoping that there's going to be lots of shiny new toys and players and big contracts that we'll be celebrating this year at the convention. So it's tough. It's a tough 2 games for the Cubs. We'll see what happens on Wednesday. We'll be here for you, Matt and Sam. They'll be doing their show as normal tomorrow. You guys can catch their video right here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. If you're not already, you should be. The viewership has been awesome for these shows. Seeing nearly 1,000 people watching them live is really cool to see. So make sure you check out their show tomorrow, all the time, Monday through Friday, right here on the channel. And then on Wednesday, same plan. They'll go live first. I will go live as soon as they are done to wrap up what could be the end of the 2025 Cubs season. Thank you all for watching. You can find me on all social media platforms at Joe George Radio. Make sure you hit that subscribe button here on YouTube, plus wherever you get your podcasts on Apple and Spotify. Thank you to everyone listening and watching on YouTube, and all the people listening on the audio platforms as well. We will talk to you on Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your evening. It is midnight after all. Peace.